I share greetings and goodwill to you all once again, my fellow natural, native, earthly humans the world over. Yes, you don't know that this is yours truly, I, the Mystic Philosopher. And welcome to part 9, the continuation of my series of talks titled, Can Africa Be Set Free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, be set free? Now, if you haven't yet watched or listened to part 1 through to part 8, I ask that you please do so before going forward with this part 9, or that you please do so at your earliest convenience. And so I ended part 8 while talking about the thing we call language, and by extension, languages. And I made it empathetically clear that if at all we, the highly enriched, melaninated people, yes, we, the highly enriched carbon-skinned people, the sun people, the people of soul or the people of soul, that are commonly called Africans, and erroneously, deceptively, and denigratingly called black people, are to be free. And again, I ask that you please note that I did not say if we are to gain our freedom, but I specifically say if we are to be free, we must. And again, please note, not that we may, but we must get rid of all the colonizers and imperialist languages from our minds and from our central control system. We have to be mentally and spiritually cleansed from and set free from the stronghold of their language and languages on all aspects, on and in all aspects of our lives. The truth be told, we cannot sensibly think or intelligently claim that we are free humans or that we are a free people if or when we are speaking in another people's tongue. If or when our minds is under the control, the influence and control of another people's language. And to add insult to injuries, if or when our colonizers are in control of our mind, mental colonization. I also told you that unfortunately, most of us are completely ignorant to where language is from, who gave it, and why it was given, and why it is given in the first place. Secondly, let us talk a little bit more about this thing called language, and by extension, languages. For your information, the purpose of a language is to conceal information and to hide the secrets of the people or of the nation to whom it, the language, belongs. Therefore, no people or nation that know, understand, and overstand this fact and is wise will ever allow a stranger, let alone one considered an enemy, to fully learn and know their language, thereby their secrets. That is known as state secret and top level secrets. If and when you know a people's or a nation's language, or a people's or a nation's secret, then you will not only be able to infiltrate them, but you will also be able to do what? Sabotage them. You'll also be able to conquer them, to overthrow them, to control them, to colonize them, to dominate them, to subdue them, to exploit them, and to rule over them, etc., etc. You will also be able to know and understand their every move. They can't hide anything from you. They will not be able to hide anything from you, period. And quite unfortunate, that is just one of the very grave mistakes our overly kind and trusting ancestors made when they encountered these alien creatures. It was to first welcome the demons into the motherland. The first welcome them into their village. Then they welcome them into their villages and homes and into their lives. And then to teach to teach the cunning and deceitful alien invaders our languages and our state, our trade secrets. And that is also one of the grave mistakes that some of us, the ascendants of our most honorable ancestors, are still making and doing today. We are behaving like fools, teaching and sharing our languages, our secrets, our occult spiritual energies and metaphysical sciences, our medicinal and cultural knowledge and practices, and much, much more with these strangers. Strangers meaning the new and revived imperialists and colonizers, which are also known as what? The neocons, the neo-colonizers, and the neo-imperialists. Yes, like fools, we are consciously and unconsciously sharing our most valuable and redeeming secrets with the neo-colonizers and neo-imperialists, who are the literal offspring, the seeds and the bloodlines, the inheritors and descendants of the imperialists and colonizers, who shamelessly, the same people who shamelessly and mercilessly exploited, trafficked, enslaved, unalived, can I use the right word? Unalived, our most honorable African ancestors, who were just being human, who were just being hospitable and kind to them. You see why I have to say unalive? Unalive? That's the control they have over us. Can't even express ourselves. Anyhow, back to this. Let me give you at least one example of how some of us are behaving like fools today. As soon as our source and the spirit of our most honorable ancestors reveal some new knowledge to some of us, and we become a bit enlightened and insightful in areas and on things that confound demons, the demons, and we invent something or discover something, aka some new technology, the first thing that some of us do is to run to them, to show them what we know and what we have found. And not only do we show them, but other than sharing and teaching our own people, our own kind, we teach them with the hope of gaining their acceptance and their approval. And it is an elusive expectation that will never and can never happen. And as you shall no doubt shortly see, that just like how a bad tree cannot bear good fruits, nothing good can come from them. Nothing good can come from the colonists, the colonizers and imperialists. But more on that later. Now, back to language. Have you ever been in the company or in the presence of some people when they are talking in their own language and native tongue, and you realize that you have absolutely no clue as to what they are saying? Has that ever happened to you? You have absolutely no idea if they are planning to kill you or to hurt you. You have no idea if you are in danger or not. That's just one example of the power and the purpose of language. Now, if you can agree with me on that fact, then you will no doubt agree with me when I said that we don't know the imperialists and colonizers' language or languages, and that regardless of how educated we may think we are, having been trained and certified by them, regardless of how polished, groomed, and articulate we may or may not be while speaking their language, the fact still remains that we were never taught the imperialist and colonized language or languages. But what we were taught and what we are being taught are just a watered down, bastardized version or watered down, bastardized versions of their language and languages. And from my perspective, the closest that we may ever get to learning, understanding, and overstanding some of their language secrets is through the study and frequent use of their various dictionaries, coupled with activated common sense. Thirdly, and without apology, for your information or for your reminder, my fellow Africans and highly enriched melanin, highly enriched carbon skin people the world over, please let me again remind you that this is not our language. Regardless of how cocky some of you are, this is not our language. This language that quite unfortunately it is that I am using to communicate with you is not our language. This is not our language. This is not our mother tongue. This is not our ancestors' language. This is not the language of our African ancestors' source and the source from whence we came to be here. This is not the language of our most honorable African ancestors, gods, and goddesses, etc. But this is the language of imperialism. It is the language of colonialism. Thus, the language of the imperialist. And an imperialist is one who not only believes in imperialism, but one who practices imperialism. And a colonist is one who practices colonialism. And as I have defined and explained to you in previous episodes, that imperialism is equal to colonialism, which is equal to demonism, which is equal to devilism, or to summarize, it is unadulterated evil or unadulterated wickedness. And there is absolutely no one that is involved with the practice of these ideologies that is good. And nothing about imperialism, colonialism, demonism, devilism, that is good. Full stop. This is the language of the imperialists and colonizers, and thus the language of demons, aka highly sophisticated devils. And how do I know that this is true? How can I prove that this is true? On what logical, rational, and factual basis did I came to this conclusion? And how can you, my listeners, or anyone else that is true to him or herself, know if this is true and no doubt will have come to the same logical and factual conclusion? Some of you may be asking. And my answer to those questions is this. It is by the owners of the language, aka the people of the language, fruits as enveloped in their current and historical track records. For as it is written, it is by their fruits. That's how you shall know them. And just to emphasize this point of fact, I will again borrow a quote from them. The Adamic race is their own Adamic race history and holy book called the Christian Holy Bible. And I quote Matthew 7:15-20. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. And it continues. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears what? Good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits, that's how you shall know them, how you will know them, unquote. Now, in the interest of time, I'm cutting it close. In the interest of time, I will end this part 9 here and continue answering those questions with my breakdown and analysis of this scripture in the following episode, part 10. So, please join me again in part 10 for the continuation of Can Africa Be Set Free? Can Burkina Faso, the land of upright people, be set free? In the meantime and between time, my dear beloved, I here's willing, not wishing, but willing that you be more and more and much, much more, and definitely not be less. And don't be less, or don't allow no one to be less you. For I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. I say.